but I've got to look my best. Matt's not here, all eyes on me. Oh no, I forgot my tea. Can I get it? So, lots of news this week, so let's dive straight in. It has been very politically heavy the last couple of weeks, so although the manifestos are out, I have to say there isn't as much detail as I'd hoped for. However, we will do a big run through of everything next week as we get closer to the general election on the 12th. One thing I will mention at this hugely critical time for the early years sector is NDNA has launched its own manifesto outlining what the next government needs to do to get it right for the early years. They say it's a very simple message that they're putting across actually, and that is families and children need affordable, accessible childcare and early education. Their manifesto actually calls for the right funding for childcare places, 0 business rates for nurseries in England, and a single childcare account for parents. So they break it down nice and simple, but it's very, very clear what they need. Moving on to a report released by Lifting Limits, which is a social enterprise with a mission to kind of challenge gender stereotypes and promote gender equality in education. Unsurprisingly, the report shows that the early years is when children pick up these gender norms and how society sort of expects them to behave, and this will potentially limit their horizons. Now, it did note that nursery practitioners are very good at not reinforcing these gender stereotypes, but there is always more that we can do, especially challenging that kind of unconscious gender bias. For example, if a child is perceived to be playing in an untraditional way, for example, a boy playing with a doll, this needs to be normalised. Now, the report listed recommendations, including funding to support early years settings and schools. Also, equipping Ofsted inspectors to bring a gender lens into inspections, and lastly, to ensure teachers are gender aware and have the appropriate training. So the next story we'll move on to is young children and internet-connected devices. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the average 4-year-old is probably better at using an iPad than me. Now, the number of under 5s with access to the internet has tripled in the last 10 years, according to a new report released by market research company Childwise. So 3/4 of under 5s have access to a connected device now, such as a tablet, phone, computer or laptop. And this is compared to 23% in 2009, so a huge increase. So we now really face helping children forge a healthy digital lifestyle, both the responsibility of parents and the early years sector. So next up, Mighty, Men in the Early Years, have released a guide on recruiting men into the early years education. So the guide calls on early years employers to take active measures to recruit more men to address the current recruitment crisis in the sector. So these include things like bringing in gender-neutral terms like early years practitioner. You can also keep a check on workplace and sexist banter, holding open days also to attract male recruits, bringing in initiatives to promote early years as a career choice for boys of all ages. And also it mentioned joining hands with job centres to promote early years careers to men. So Dr. Jeremy Davies, the author of the guide, said there's always been a general acceptance that men just aren't interested in this field. And this is not good enough. We need to create a more representative workforce in the sector. So the last story for today is some nicer news from the NDNA about Ofsted revealing statistics that show at the end of August, 97% of providers were rated good or outstanding. Now, it goes without saying that is something to be so proud of. Despite the challenges that the sector is facing, you guys are still providing really high childcare and education for the young generation. So that's all for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and remember to subscribe so you never miss our videos. I'll see you next time.